welcome to the Graveyard Shift. We are your hosts, Josh and Missy Graves, and we're just here to yap. Probably going to be some bad yapping this week, I'm not going to lie.
It's an Easter special, though.
It's an Easter special. I know all of our 2 listeners noticed. We missed an episode last week.
We did.
We did. I was on a Bachelorette party, and I got back on Monday. We thought we were going to be able to record from, remotely. And it just did not.
Naive thinking.
Did not work out. Yeah. Part of me knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, we're gonna stay on it. We're gonna do our job that no one pays us to do. And no, that was not the case.
No.
And now I'm back. I've been back for almost a week, and I'm still so disoriented and tired. And I'm so I only have one AirPod in because one of them died. And that's just where we're at this week. So, still so tired that apparently I was snoring last night. I don't snore.
You did. Yep.
So,
you slept like 10 hours last night, too. That was crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. Let me tell you what. It was not enough.
You were asleep by 10, and I woke you up at like 8. So,
Yep.
Quick math.
Yep.
10 hours.
And when you woke me up, I was like, there was a good 20 minutes where I felt like I had just come out of a coma. Like I couldn't walk straight. We were trying to feed the dogs and let them out, and I was just stumbling around like a drunk idiot, even though I hadn't.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. It's fine though. We're pushing through.
All in all though, how was the batch trip?
It was good. So we went to Austin, right? And I'd never been to Austin, so I was excited. It was a good time. The house that we were stayed in was beautiful. We got a house that was really nice. It had a really nice pool in the backyard. So we spent all day there, and then we went out a couple of nights. But the first day, well, hold on. First, I want to talk about the decorating. The maid of honor did a great job decorating the house. It was beautiful. It was girly pop. It was fun. However, there was one part of it that freaked me out. They had this blow-up doll of the groom, and it was just his face on a naked blow-up doll, as you do. What freaked me out were the feet were just little pointy nubs.
Oh,
and
weird.
He was just laying in different parts of the house throughout the week. And it scared the crap out of me every time I walked in the living room and just saw him laying on the couch. Who is this man? Oh, it's Cole. So that was fun.
Nice.
But other than that, the first full day we were there, we went out. Was our lake day, right? And it was a Thursday, and we're like, oh great, it'll be a Thursday. There'll be less people on the water. There was nobody on the water.
Oh,
right?
Really?
No, nobody at all. I don't think I told you this. So yeah, so we got there Wednesday, and then Thursday we went out on the lake, and it was cheaper. We were like, yeah, this is awesome. This is great. It's not gonna be as crowded. There was nobody there, and we apparently went to Austin during a cold front. It was 80 degrees. It was still 80 degrees. Okay. So the fact that there was nobody on the water, they were like, the water's gonna be so cold. How are you? It was 80 degrees outside, guys. Come on. So we live in Knoxville. I grew up in Chattanooga. We grew up around the river, and that when it's 80 degrees, you are out on the water. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So that was shocking.
Which, to be fair, they probably, it was winter, so I'm sure the water was relatively chilly.
It was chilly, but
you don't have to get in the water,
Yeah.
you can still just being on a boat.
Yeah.
It's fun, especially when it's 80 degrees outside.
I don't know. I guess we're just built different over here. I don't know.
Nice.
Because people were shocked that we had gone out on the water.
Shucketh.
But it was a great time. And other than that, we went out a couple times, and we went out we sampled all the bars, right? However, there was one that we just kept going back to, and it was one that if you had asked me before, I would have thought we would have hated. Coyote Ugly. That's the place to be. Who would have thought? Not me. So you've heard of Coyote Ugly, right? You have to have.
Yes, after you kind of like showed
After
it
I
to
told
me.
you about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen the movie, but I knew about what Coyote Ugly was. I thought it was like I was a little like intimidated to go because they go and like the girls dance on the bar top, like literally like they encourage all the girls, not just the workers there, to like get up on the bar and like dance.
Sounds
Literally on
dangerous.
a little bit, yeah. Um, but I don't know, man. It's just a good time. They have they have like bouncers all throughout the club, like actively watching, and like because there was like one guy who was kind of being a little bit creepy. Um, but he clocked him and he kicked him out, kicked him right out of the bar. So
Nice.
Coyote Ugly in Austin, that's the place to be.
So would you go back to Austin as a whole?
Yeah, I would want to do things other than what you do on a bachelorette trip. You know, like, I feel like there was probably more things that we could have done, but
Yeah.
on a different occasion.
Did you get any of the
So
Texas barbecue while you were down there?
yes, yes, we went to
Controversial,
honestly. What?
controversial take. Did you like Texas barbecue or Memphis barbecue better?
Texas, because like isn't Texas more brisket and then Memphis is more like pulled pork?
I feel like it's always a big difference on the sauce, and I don't.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I like brisket. I'm a brisket gal. So if the option is brisket, I don't care where it's from, I'm eating it.
it's fair.
Right? That's my yeah. So I got the best thing I ate probably was from um Shiner's Saloon and it was like brisket tacos.
That sounds pretty good.
So good. It was from like a bar too, like it was it was good. You're making me hungry. We haven't had dinner yet.
Now, it is currently 5:30 on Sunday as we are recording this, so
Tis. It's dinner time.
it is
So
early
anyway,
early bird special.
the early bird special. What did you do while I was gone? Did you
Um,
party it up?
I cleaned. I cleaned for
Clean.
like 6 straight hours
You did.
on Saturday.
You cleaned the
Um,
entire house, and it's pretty
everything.
immaculate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. I deep cleaned drains in the sinks. I deep
Yeah.
cleaned the shower.
The
I washed
shower.
washed the dogs. I washed the dog beds. I washed all of our
You did not
bedding.
give Blue a bath.
I didn't do good. I didn't do Blue. I
You didn't
forgot
give
about
Blue a
him.
bath.
Did
How
Acorn
could you
though? She was
forget?
the smellier one
She
between the
gets
two.
stinky. That's true. She gets really stinky.
I vacuumed everything, swept the floors. But honestly, the only thing I didn't do that I wanted to do was dust the baseboards. But besides that, I mean,
Yeah.
I went ham.
You even you did honestly the best update that has ever been done to this house. You
Oh
did.
yeah,
You did while I was gone. You
yeah,
replaced the shower head. And I
I
don't know
did.
what voodoo magic you did when you replaced the shower head, but we now have water pressure, and I swear the water is warmer.
Yeah,
Because like I
yeah.
used to like get kind of cold and I haven't turned all the way up. I've gone down to the garage, turned up the temperature on the water heater, and I'm still cold in the shower. Whatever you did, voodoo magic.
So for little backstory, we had a shower head. Melissa here didn't like it, so she bought a new shower head, which I would
Do not blame
argue
this on me. We bought this,
was
we picked it out
worse.
together, sir.
So then, and I think I'm a strong believer in you get what you pay for, right? So that was a cheaper shower head, but it had
It
good
was
Amazon
it was
reviews.
around the same price. You said you paid $40 for the one in there.
So I went to Lowe's, and she had made a mention prior to the trip about how she wanted to get a filtered shower head to filter out the water a little bit. And so I went to Lowe's and I found a filtered shower head that was from a reputable company. And that is what I purchased. So as I was taking off the old shower head, I actually found a water reducer or water limiter. So I think that is the answer as to why our water pressure wasn't as
How did
good.
you not notice it the last time you changed the shower head?
I don't know, man.
Okay.
Um, I think it was like inside the shower head. So tore that out because it was stuck like down in the pipe. So I got that out of there. And then yeah, no, it was I mean, phenomenal. It like
It's a whole different experience in there now.
shower will burn you now. It's too hot.
Yeah, it is. It is. Even for me, and I like to burn my skin off. So,
But yeah, so that was pretty much the majority of my weekend was cleaning. Besides that, I studied for my exam that I have in November.
nerd.
Yep. It's a dream come true, actually.
Yeah.
7 months away from the exam. I've already been studying for 3 months for it, and I'm not even close to halfway done with the material.
You're doing great.
It's a great time. It'll be worth it when it's all said and done. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, so basically just studying, cleaning, taking care of the dogs. I had to water the plants as well.
They're
Had
all
wanted
alive.
to finish your raised garden bed, but that did not happen
I can
because,
tell
well,
by
when
the
I went to
fact that it's not
Lowe's,
finished.
the boards that they had available that we are using for the raised flower bed,
Mhm.
um, they were all warped. So I was like, okay, I'm not spending. We got upcharged into cedar from pressure treated pine,
Well, we
and
need to.
that,
It's better for what we want to do. I don't think we got
yeah,
upcharged. That's what we need to buy.
yeah. So we were gonna get 2x8s for like $12 a board. Instead, we ended up with 2x4s for $22 a board. So it got a little bit.
Because these aren't treated with chemicals, though, and if we're growing food, we need to not be using chemicals.
Listen, pump me up with the chemicals, baby.
Sir, no. This is an organic garden out here that we're building, okay?
So
All organic.
yeah, plan was to finish that, but all the boards at Lowe's sucked the day that I went. So,
That sucks.
um, but yeah, I mean that basically, as far as personal items, that covers what happened last weekend.
About it. Oh, I
Yeah,
got sick too, so that
you
adds
did.
to why I'm so tired.
Yeah, got back from your trip, thrown off your sleep schedule, boom, bam, fever.
I woke up the next day and I made a TikTok about like how bad my travel hangover was because I literally just thought I was that tired. No, I
Nah,
had a fever for like 24 hours and then
yeah,
am still coffee.
recovering.
Yeah. So anyway, we're way behind in terms of like we never got a chance to talk about the championship game, did we?
Mm-mm. No.
So without further ado, let's get into our midnight snacks.
Let's dive into it.
Let's dive into it.
First things first, I think we have to cover the most important part. I won
Obviously.
the competition of the
Oh my
bracket
God.
challenge between us. So
You
stay
did.
tuned. Melissa here will have to come up with a punishment penalty.
I have to come up with it?
I mean, I guess we'll come up with it together. But Melissa will have to perform her loser ceremony, basically.
My loser ceremony.
Yeah, because she
Yes,
did lose not only the men's bracket
I
challenge,
did.
but also the women's.
I was
But
feeling good about my women's bracket.
I'll cut you some slack because Juju Watkins got injured
Yeah.
and you had USC winning
Yeah.
the whole thing, and
I
it was
I was feeling good about it, and then poor
gonna
Juju.
be gonna be tough to beat UConn, who became the national champions. Not spoilers, uh, without your best player. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So I feel like first we need to talk about the NCAA tournament, right? The men's championship game.
Hmm.
So Florida. So I remember thinking before the game, my prediction, right? My prediction was that Florida was going to be in the lead the whole time, and then somehow, some way, Houston's going to come back at the end and win it because they got fight in them, right? That was my prediction. And then the exact opposite of that ended up happening,
Yeah,
which was really shocking,
that was crazy.
right? Because Houston was looking pretty decent throughout the whole thing, and Florida was like just hanging in there.
They choked, man.
Yeah, and then Florida came back at the end to win by just like two or something, right? So it was
Yeah.
really close. So that was shocking. I didn't see that coming. Quite literally thought the opposite would happen.
it was also like the opposite of what happened in the Duke Houston game because Houston was down by like 14 at one point, but
Mhm.
then Duke didn't score any points for like the final
Mhm.
12 minutes basically. And so Houston ended up pulling that out. But that was one Final Four. I turned the Houston Duke game off at halftime
Yeah, I
and went to
remember that.
bed because I was like, oh man, this is a blowout.
Yeah.
And then I missed the best second half of college basketball ever. So
Uh-huh.
that was tough. But
Yeah.
yeah, Houston, I mean, they had it in their grasp, and then, just Walter Clayton did what Walter Clayton does. But credit to Houston for holding him scoreless for the first half. So
Oh yeah, right. How many points did he end up having?
I don't know what his total point count was, but I know his first point that he scored was on a free throw in the second half.
Hmm.
So
That's crazy.
yeah, he like, he had assists in the first half, but
Yeah.
he was going into that game averaging like 25 points per game in
Wow.
the NCAA tournament. So for him to have zero,
Hmm.
pretty crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well,
But yeah, that's about all I've
all I
got
got
on
to
the
say.
NCAA men's tournament.
Okay. Well, on to the next topic. All this Nico hoopla.
Oh, I've got a lot to
So,
say.
do you?
Um, yes.
Okay.
First, a notification literally just came through from ESPN. Nico Iamaleava has officially announced his transfer to
Oh, he
UCLA.
has.
So that is
Okay.
confirmed now.
It's finally officially official.
It was kind of, it was speculated that that was going to be the main spot that he was going to land at. That was on all of the
Hmm.
boards as like the number one destination for him to go to.
Yeah.
Colin Coward came out and reported like 4 days ago that that deal was finalized. It was not. So earlier today, Pete Thamel announced that the UCLA head coach had gone to the team and announced that, Nico transfer is pending. And so they're officially, Nico has posted on Instagram that he will be going to
Hmm.
UCLA. So with that being said, if you have, unless you've been living under a rock this past
Hmm.
week, you have seen that Nico Iamaleava, Tennessee's quarterback, the
Yeah.
quarterback that was the first person to make just bukus of money at the beginning of this NIL situation began. The $8 million man, he announced he was entering the transfer portal. That came after a report came out a couple weeks ago now, like a week and a half ago,
Hmm.
that they were entering basically salary discussions with the team. Nico's team and Tennessee were. That kind of pissed a lot of people off because first, go back to December, there was the hypothetical of like, oh, Nico might enter the transfer portal, and then he shut that down. But you had Mike Williams for Tennessee enter the transfer portal because he thought Nico was going to transfer. So it's like he definitely talked about it with the team or some of the people on the team back in December. So
Yeah.
fast forward to now, you've gone through all of spring training, you're about to go play the orange and white game, and you decide the day before the orange and white game, I'm going to sit out of practice because I'm going to hold the team hostage and try and get a pay increase. The guy was already set to make $2.4 million next year as a college quarterback. If he balled out, he goes to the NFL draft this next year and goes in the first round and immediately makes more money than he would make at Tennessee.
Hmm.
But instead, he decided, and I don't know, like, I don't want to fault Nico for this because from what I've read, from everything that I've seen, it kind of feels like it was more so he got bad advice from
Yeah.
his agent,
Yeah.
which is his dad. Um,
Well, his agent and his dad. He has like a team, and then his dad also, right?
yeah.
I would think.
But from one
But
of the stories that I was reading, like based on their family dynamic, because they're a very traditional Polynesian family, what the dad says kind of goes. So I think it's like 80% of the input and decision making is done by the dad for the family. Which, you know, to give Nico the benefit of the doubt here, up until this point, it's worked. And
Yeah.
Been a solid plan to do it that way. I mean, they made him the highest paid quarterback up until the contracts came out this past offseason. So, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like this is one thing where like everyone kind of agrees. Like I haven't seen anybody say something other than he got bad advice. This is a bad move. He's not going to get as much money anywhere else that like he's not going to get the money that he's asking for. It feels like the internet or the football community is kind of all in agreement
Yeah.
on how this went. Um, which is interesting that everybody can agree on something, but
I
I don't know.
just
I just hope that Nico learns from it and moves forward
yeah.
because I don't know. I liked him and it kind of it broke my heart a little bit to see all this
I
happen because I had really high hopes for him and I think all of the Vol fans did. So
I'm not gonna lie. Last Saturday, when the news officially came out and everything, that
yeah.
Coach Heupel said to the team, "Hey, we're moving on from Nico." When that notification came through on my phone, I literally felt like I was going through a breakup for like the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I cleaned so much on Saturday.
You were
It literally
trying
felt
to
like I'd been
cope with
broken
all
up.
of your
I
feelings.
had so many emotions because I was
Oh my
like,
God.
man, just, like the state of Tennessee
Yeah.
sued the NCAA. They went to court for this guy because the NCAA was trying to rule him ineligible to play based on the recruiting standards. The state of Tennessee, not the University of Tennessee, the state of Tennessee went to court to battle for this guy. He is paid an obscene amount of money for somebody that's in college.
Yeah.
Okay? And then he has the audacity to want more money after going for 2,600 yards this past year, 19-5 across 13 games. Now, did we make the college playoffs? Yes. Is that the first time in forever that we made the college playoffs? Yes. But a couple things that need to be noted about that. One, we moved to the 12-team playoff as opposed to four. So that's a big aspect of why we made it in.
Hmm.
Two, our defense bailed us out so much last year. Prime example, the Oklahoma game. We would have lost that game if it weren't for the fact that after we'd have a turnover, within 2 plays, we forced a turnover on the other side of the ball and we got the ball back. I mean, we
Yeah.
had two turnovers within our own 20-yard line that our defense bailed us out on. Second, we had this guy named Dylan Sampson, who he would have been a Heisman contender last year if Ashton Genty hadn't Ashton Genty'd.
Yeah.
So, you know, the team didn't run through
Also,
Nico this past year. The team
no.
ran through Dylan Sampson,
Yeah.
literally, because he was the running
Yeah.
back.
We also got absolutely destroyed in that playoff game too.
Wasn't even close.
We lost by like 30 points at least, something like that.
And then I'm seeing reports about like Nico, like his team was telling the team like, "Hey, we may hold out for this to try and get a pay increase for Nico because we didn't sign up to pay or to play in the playoffs. We signed up for the regular season." And
Hmm.
that pisses me off because what is the point of coming to a team if not to try and win a national championship? And then second, his whole team's basically saying like, oh, the reason for this move isn't because of the money, it's because of the offensive scheme. If it wasn't about the money, Nico wouldn't have come to Tennessee in the first place because it has been for the last however long Josh Heupel's been the coach, Heupel's offense. They
Hmm.
knew exactly what it was when they signed on to come on to Tennessee. Why did they sign on to come to Tennessee? Because we paid him the most money.
Yeah.
Okay? We made him the $8 million man, the highest paid quarterback in college. He has a lot of promise. You could have listened to Nick Saban or any of the other SEC coaches talk about, like, yeah, we tried to recruit that guy coming out of high school, and Tennessee beat us out on him. He was heavily sought after. But the fact of the matter is, he had a very average year last year. Best
Mm-hmm.
comparison I can make is that Joe Milton the year prior got a lot of hate from fans across the college football landscape.
Yeah.
I hate to say it to all of those people. Joe Milton had a better year last year or 2 years ago than Nico
Mm-hmm.
had last year.
It was
In
close, but yeah,
12
still
in
better.
12 games,
Yeah.
Milton threw 20 touchdowns, so one more, 5 interceptions, and he threw for 200 more yards with one less game because he sat out the bowl game, which we dominated in against Iowa. So he could have gone into that game and racked up another like 300 yards, but instead Nico got the start and looked
Yeah.
pretty decent. Um, but yeah, Joe Milton got a lot of hate because he threw the ball like 75 miles an hour and couldn't hit the deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
I watched 20 videos in a row of this past season of Nico missing the deep ball on wide open
There
guys.
were a lot of videos, a lot of those videos going around Instagram and TikTok of him missing
Any
passes.
anything over 15 yards, you're holding your breath on because you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, is this ball going to be underthrown by 10 yards?" Which makes no
Mm-hmm.
sense because Nico has the arm strength to get the ball there. So, um, all in all, I'm pretty disappointed with
Yeah.
how it all went down.
Yeah.
I think the UT collective would be willing to pay someone the $4 million that it was reported that he was asking for. But you got to prove it, right? Like
Yeah.
you
You
gotta
gotta earn
have
it.
you gotta have a
Like,
solid year. And this past year, Nico wasn't. By all accounts, he was the seventh to eighth best quarterback in the SEC last year. You're trying to ask for more money than everyone else in the SEC. We didn't win the SEC. We didn't even go to the SEC championship game. So
mm-mm.
how can you want more money when, like, one, we got to build a team around you. Two, like, you didn't have a great year. You didn't earn 4 million, and it, this is just like completely tainted his image. Like,
Yeah.
he's going to UCLA. Maybe if he balls out there, this will all be forgotten about. But one, UCLA's program has not been historically great here recently. Two, they're the little brother of USC. I think that's pretty safe to say there. Southern California belongs to USC.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, you should look up a picture of what UCLA's football stadium looks like and compare it to a picture of Neyland Stadium.
Yeah.
You want to play for a
It's
bunch of
tiny.
eyes and get noticed by NFL talent? I don't know that UCLA's stadium is the one that's going to bring the eyeballs to watch your play.
No.
Could be wrong. Who knows? But
No.
yeah. So I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
It it hurt to see that. But with all that being said, this is kind of my spicy snack for the day.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I think Tennessee will be better next
Yeah.
year without Nico. I don't think the team could have brought him in again after it came out that he was going to sit out of
No.
practice. I think if you
No.
pay that guy that, it sets a dangerous precedent for the rest of the college football
Yeah.
landscape where you have guys being like, oh, if I sit out, I'll get paid, which people try and do in the NFL. But again, that's after they have had great years and are going into their contract year and they want a new
Mm-hmm.
deal.
Mm-hmm.
Nico had a great deal. He didn't earn a new deal. Um, so we'll see. But yeah, I think Tennessee will be better next year. And if you want evidence as to why I think Tennessee will be better next year, I would like anybody that questions that to go watch the final play of the Tennessee Arkansas game and look at the
Yeah.
decision making that occurred on the final play of the game to potentially win the game.
What happened? Oh. Yeah.
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 So I'll end it with
Just
that.
leave it at that.
Thank you for coming to my rant. I had a lot of pent up emotions and feelings about
You
this.
went. Yep.
I was upset and I'm still upset. Um, you kind of have to remember that this kid's 20 years old.
Yeah. Is he even 20 yet?
He's 20. But man, I mean, I was disappointed
God.
with
Yeah.
everything that I've seen and heard. I mean,
Yeah.
Josh Heupel called him and he didn't even answer the phone. And him and Heupel have a solid relationship with each other. Like, I don't care how mad you are at your coach. You answer the phone when your coach calls you because
Mm-hmm.
you're on his team. He's not on your team. You're on his team.
Yeah. Well, with that, let's move on.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. Bigger and better things, aka the Masters.
Yes.
I
Rory
didn't watch a
McIlroy.
single second of it, so
Rory got
this
it
is
done. That's
yeah.
the big news. Um, he finished his career Grand Slam, so that is winning all of the majors. I believe he is the
Okay.
sixth or seventh person in history to do it. So it has taken him quite a bit of time. It was the early 2010s when he won his last major um, for this. So I think he's had like 11 shots or something like that to get this done. But he did it. He did it.
Yep.
So he tried to choke it away. I mean,
Yeah.
so he set a couple records. He is now the first Masters champion that has had 4 double bogeys on the weekend and still won.
How do you do that?
Second, the back nine was a roller coaster of emotions. Really, the whole day on Sunday was just a roller coaster of emotions. Because at one point on like 12 or 13, Rory had a 4-stroke lead. Okay, if you have a 4-stroke lead, you're pretty solid, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can play a little bit more reserved and still eke this out because you've got cushion. Well, Rory tried to play it safe and he laid up and then left himself with a short shot. And then he hit it horribly. He hit it like 20 yards off what he was aimed at. It went in the water. Now he's got to take a drop. He takes a stroke penalty for that and everything. And he ends up with a horrible score. And so you got this other guy, Justin Rose, who just clawed his way back with like, I mean, I think he had like 6 birdies or something like that on Sunday to send it to a playoff. And then Rory did phenomenal. I mean, Rory's second shot on that playoff match was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Put it within like 3 feet of the pin on the second shot. Masters weekend lived up to the hype. I feel kind of bad for Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, he didn't just choke on Sunday. He fell off a cliff. You know, it
Yeah.
was bad. The nerves got to him, I think. They did talk about like how much practice range time he had done. Like, you know, playing his round and then he was staying on the driving range until like 9 p.m. every single night. He hit by far more balls than anybody else at the range over the weekend, just trying to get dialed in. And I mean, up until Sunday, that had worked for him. So,
Hmm.
but all in all, it was pretty sweet to see Rory get it done. And so I kind of I was looking at like some NFL comparisons of what this would be equivalent to. And I think the best representation was the Detroit Lions winning a Super Bowl. Just basically
Yeah.
like it's taken so long for them to get back to the top to get something done. And
Mm.
that was basically Rory. It took him 11
Wow.
years to get over the hump. So he'd been close in the past, but somehow, some way, something catastrophic would happen that would just torch the chance. So it was, and I mean, kind of brought a tear to your eye, like when he got it done, because you could just see all of the emotion come out. Because this
Yeah.
this was the elephant on his shoulders for the last 10 years of like Rory may never win another major again. You know, like
Yeah.
all of that
Oh my gosh.
information. So he got it done. He got his green jacket. Now he'll get to play at Augusta every single year until he decides he doesn't want to anymore. So
Yeah.
pretty sweet. So yeah, that was Masters weekend.
Well, yeah, you'll have a happy ending.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a single second of it, so
No,
no, we were a little busy.
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were talking at one point, I asked if you guys had watched any of the Masters or the F1 race that day. You hadn't. tuned in for either.
No, of course not. Of course not. Um, okay, well, next up, NFL draft
Yep.
this week.
Don't have a ton to talk about on it because
No?
maybe this is a rude thing to say, but it is just a fact. Statistically, a lot of these guys that get drafted in the first round will not pan out in the NFL, but
Ouch.
they will bring a ton of hype to that team for the
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah.
Um, I think the main thing to talk about is one, Cam Ward going number one overall is like minus 20,000. So what that means is that if you bet $20,000 that Cam Ward will be the first overall draft pick, you can win 100.
God.
So if you want to make a bet, I don't know
Don't
that
do that
that's
one.
going to have the best return for the risk involved with it.
Yeah.
But he was on stream this past week and they asked him like who his favorite wide receivers were, and he started with Calvin Ridley, who is a current Titans wide receiver. He said Justin Jefferson, who's obviously on the Vikings.
Hmm.
And then he said Traylon Burks as the last one, who is another Tennessee wide receiver, who that is, if you listen to my rant back on like week 1 or 2, Traylon Burks is who we traded A.J. Brown away for, basically, to draft because we thought he'd be a solid replacement. And then it came out that he had asthma and was struggling to get through camp.
Asthma.
Um, I got asthma. Um, so the fact that he listed him as like one of his favorite receivers, it just
Okay.
pretty much solidified it. And then they talked about like
Okay.
who are your favorite running backs, and he said Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, who are Tennessee's two running backs. So
Interesting.
I think he earned
Interesting.
himself some brownie points with those
Yeah.
answers, with the team. So I'm sold. I'm
Yeah.
sold.
You're sold? You
He's gonna
excited
come
about it
in.
as
We're
a
going to
Titans
the
fan?
playoffs. Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
look at what
First
Jaden
year.
Daniels did. Um, I'm feeling confident.
Hmm.
Feeling confident.
Hmm. You feel like you're like trying to convince yourself.
Yeah, I am a little bit. So
Okay.
I think the main story, since it's pretty much solidified that Cam Ward's going number one overall, is who gets taken number two. Um,
Yeah.
do you go for Abdul Carter? Do you go for Travis Hunter? How far down does Shedeur Sanders go? Does the team take him early? Did they take him later? Because a lot of like what's been said about this draft class is that there's not a lot of just standout pop off the page guys. It's more so a really solid deep draft of above average guys, but you don't have any of like an Arch Manning, for example,
Yeah.
coming out, or the Caleb Williams of last year, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the best quarterback we've ever seen come out. So it'll
Well,
be interesting to watch those types of stories.
yeah. Well, let's segue this into, do we think that this will move the needle at all for Aaron Rodgers? Like anything that happens in the draft will move the needle for Aaron Rodgers.
So he went on Pat McAfee's show this past week, and basically what I took away from that, he was on for like 45 minutes.
Hmm.
He talked about he had a meeting with the Jets this past like a couple weeks ago or something like that. But anyways, their new head coach Aaron Glenn was there. Aaron Glenn is from the Detroit Lions. And so he comes in, flies across the country because his home is in California. So he flies from California to New York, pays for the flight himself. He's thinking he's going to have like a 2 hour meeting with the team, just kind of like go over what they're talking about. And so basically, Aaron Glenn, the head coach, asks him, "Hey, are you wanting to play this next year?" And Aaron Rodgers was like, "Oh, like maybe, like I'm thinking about it and everything, but yeah, I think I want to play." So then Aaron Glenn leaves the room and then comes back with the general manager, which Rodgers is like, well, that's kind of weird. So then Aaron Glenn just, "Hey, we're gonna go in a different direction at quarterback." And so Rodgers was
Yeah,
like, "I'm
I
not."
saw this.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm not annoyed that they want to go in a different direction. That's fine. This could have been an email, like
Yeah.
Like one of
Yeah,
those, like,
like in the corporate world, like just give
yeah,
them the email. That was the
why'd
whole.
I fly 8 hours cross country to just have a
Yeah.
15-minute conversation?
Yeah, they asked him like,
Um,
"How do you want us to handle this? Like, what do you want us to tell the media or something like that?" And he was like, "I don't give a shit."
yeah, I don't give a shit what you guys say,
Yeah,
because he's never cared about like that. I think that's why I like Rodgers, is that
yeah,
he leaves it on the field. I mean, say what you want about the guy, like about what he feels personally. I don't care about
hmm
that. Okay, when he's on the field, he slings the ball, and he is one of the most accurate quarterbacks that has ever played in the NFL, bar none. He is back-to-back MVP, four-time MVP in the NFL for a reason. Okay,
hmm
so say what you will about the guy, but he's phenomenal at what he does. Is
yeah,
he older? Yes. But he recovered from a torn Achilles faster than anyone ever has. You know, that needs to be said.
true, impressive. Yeah,
Yeah. And then, two, even if he's not on the field, he brings major leadership to the team. You know, he's got the experience. He started under Brett Favre. He's trained Jordan Love, who is now the starter for the Packers. Like
hmm
he can be a great mentor for any team that wants him, but at the same time, he has to want to play. And so that was kind of the takeaway from the show, was that he is open to anything attached to nothing, is what he said.
hmm
Um, so he didn't take retirement off the table. He didn't take playing off the table. He said the reports about him wanting 40 to 50 million per year for him to play again is just completely false. He's willing to pay for like 10 million, which would make
hmm
him, aside from rookies, by far the cheapest quarterback as a starter that you could get in modern history. Um, so it'll be interesting to watch. I think, to answer your original question about will that move, like will the draft move the needle for Rodgers on a certain location? I don't think it will. I think the main spot that he has available still is the Steelers, and I feel like they'll have some pretty clear-cut conversation going into it on what that looks like for them. So, if you watch them take a quarterback in the first round, I still don't even think that rules out the possibility of him playing for the Steelers, because again, even if you start the rookie, having Rodgers on the team as the
yeah.
backup to teach someone is extremely beneficial.
While transitioning into Girl Dinner,
Ba-ba-da-ba.
where we talk about women's sports, really all we got this week that I can think of is the NBA draft happened for the women.
Yep.
And of course, we all saw it coming. Paige Buckets went first overall to
Yep.
the Dallas Wings, which we all saw that coming. Really no surprises. Were you surprised,
Uh,
Josh?
no, not at all. I think it's pretty sweet how, like, she had some serious, like, some injuries throughout
Yeah.
college and everything.
Yep.
But to overcome that, win a national championship, be the number one overall draft pick.
Dominantly win a national
Ye-
championship. They won
Yeah,
by like 30 points or something.
they made South Carolina look like a 16 seed. That was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So,
so credit to Paige Buckets, man. She bowled
Paige
out.
Buckets.
Paige Buckets. So
Yeah,
it'll be
I
fun
saw
to
something about
watch.
her doing Unrivaled too. Did you see that? Do you know what
Uh,
that is?
no.
Unrivaled?
Quick zoom in on the face again.
Hello.
Just do the rest of the
Unrivaled.
show from that angle.
So Unrivaled is women's professional 3-on-3 basketball league essentially.
Hmm.
So I thought I saw
Uh,
something about her doing that as well.
is that
But
Ice Cube's league?
quote me on it. Is it Ice Cube's league?
Ice Cube has a 3-on-3 league. Let me see if it sounds.
He's not one of the founders listed on Wikipedia.
Let's see here. Oh, no. His is called the Big Three.
The Big Three.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because he made an offer to Caitlin Clark last year of like, hey, you can play in the WNBA, but also you can play for us in the Big Three because our schedules don't really conflict with each other. I think there was like 2 games of WNBA that she'd need to miss to be able to play in the Big Three. But he was offering her $1 million plus per year to come play for the Big Three. and that is significantly more than she makes in the WNBA right now.
Interesting.
But I think their teams in the big three are like co-ed. I don't think it's just like girls versus girls. I think it's like
Huh.
girls and guys. So it's kind of interesting.
That could be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, that Ice Cube's
So,
league is big three. So sorry,
okay.
I kind of sidetracked
I've
us
heard
here.
nothing about that. I've heard of Unrivaled, obviously, but not interesting. Whatever. We'll see. We'll see if either of them really catch on. Unrivaled has only been around for a couple years. It was founded in July of 2023. We'll see. It's
Hmm.
sixth round. But yeah, as far as the draft, the only other thing that was really notable, it seemed, out of that was Sedona Prince not getting drafted.
Yeah.
So, which is a
Which
whole
I didn't
topic.
know the drama on that. I saw
I
like
didn't
people
really
being
either.
happy that she didn't get drafted. Um, so
Yeah.
then, I looked into it a little bit more, asked you about it, and
Mhm.
I don't think any team probably wants to touch that type of
Yeah.
situation.
It seems little messy.
Yeah.
So she's also older too, because she was in college for like 6 years or something like that. I want to say she's 25. Um,
I feel like we're on the end of
so
that stage of college sports
of
where
them
people
being
are in for
older.
like 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, I guess Paige Becker is older too, because she was a fifth year senior, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was from COVID, and she's so good that
Yeah, you had all the like COVID year, and then you had medical red shirts, and then you had
yeah,
regular red shirts. I mean, you had
yeah,
that Miami guy play for 8 years, so
that's crazy.
dude could have
That's
gotten
crazy.
low-key a doctorate
Yeah,
in his time while
while
playing football.
while playing. So yeah, I think that was really it in terms of the WNBA draft. Those were the two big things of note to talk about. You already talked about your spicy snack, so
Yeah,
you skipped ahead in the program,
did spoiler on me.
Joshua.
I guess closing note would be Lee Corso's retirement from Game Day. Nearly
Yes.
40 years. So he will do the first show of the next season, um, down in, like August, September. I think it's like late August is when the football season will kick off or something like that. But anyways,
Mhm.
the first show of this next season will be his last. Um, Lee Corso, it has been a ride.
Yeah.
It was I watched like a highlight video of all the stuff that he's done over the years. It was pretty touching to watch. I mean, he's just been
Mhm.
such a large part of college football for the last 40 years. Um, Him and Kirk Herbstreit have been together for I think over 30 of that.
That's
So
wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've been going for a long time, and I mean that's 40 years on television after he was a head coach. So
Mhm.
after he finished coaching, he went into this. So
Mhm.
Lee, enjoy your,
Yeah.
90th year
Yeah.
on this planet. Um, Thank you for everything you gave to us.
You made us all smile on game day.
Yep. And we were all hoping you were going to put on our mascot head at the end of the
Every
show
week.
every
That's
week.
all we wanted. Every week.
So,
Okay.
claps for Lee.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Deuces. That's a good ending with the balloons.
There it goes. Bye.